Alright, hey guys, everything new under the sun. I want to do a little video about TimeMachine and Drobo units. I thought I would do it because I've had issues with TimeMachine backups corrupting several times actually. I think I found out the actual cause of it, and to save you time watching 3 to 5 minutes into it, the issue is basically switching between your Cat5 network, your network jack versus Wi-Fi. Now, what you see in the background is the Drobo dashboard, and I just decided I had a 500 gig drive in there. I decided to use my Iron Wolf. I got a refurbished warranty Iron Wolf 3 terabyte hard drive, and I was kind of saving it, waiting for one of the other hard drives to fail. But I thought, you know what? Instead of waiting for one of the other hard drives to fail, I thought I would take out the smallest, the 500 gig, which is pretty old anyways. Although it's been acting incredibly, and replace it, which expands the space on my Drobo. And so I use my Drobo for TimeMachine backups. I use it for the backup of this MacBook. I use it. My wife's MacBook Air backs up to this as well, and it's general storage. So it's a backup of all my data. It's my second. Well, it's my first backup. I have a second backup, so 3 copies of my data on a single hard drive. But generally, I do rely on this Drobo unit. As long as all the hard drives don't get corrupt, which is a pretty slim chance, then the Drobo itself is a pretty good backup measure in terms of, if I lose hard drives, it's still backed up there, and it's on dual disk redundancy, so I could lose up to 2 hard drives in total and not lose any data. Now, since I swapped a 3 terabyte in, I'm basically down to the ability to lose 1 hard drive, and so hopefully I won't lose 1 hard drive while the 3 terabyte is filling up. It's going to have to switch over all its data. But the deal about the TimeMachine corruption, let me just go to TimeMachine here. So I've got TimeMachine set up on this system. Right now it's in manual mode because what I was doing with my MacBook, it's a laptop, so I was taking the MacBook, I was switching over to Wi-Fi, I was unplugging the network cable, and then trying to do TimeMachine backups on both Wi-Fi and then the network cable, and not switching it in between, not while TimeMachine was backing up, switching Wi-Fi to Ethernet or something like that, but I'd wait for it to be done, and then I'd switch over. But apparently it doesn't like to back up on Wi-Fi and then back up again on the network, because I think the network shares get confused, and then eventually it says that the backup is corrupt and it needs to start all over. Well, if it's starting to back up all over again, it's a complete waste of time. It's a complete waste of the backup because you have no backup history. I mean, I had a year's worth of history, which was all lost when it went corrupt. And like I say, since I got the Drobo, this network attached Drobo specifically, I've had several corrupt backups where I've had to start all over again. So like I said, I think the issue is switching from Wi-Fi, backing up on Wi-Fi, then backing up on the network. So I think as long as you only back up when you're connected to the Ethernet and don't switch between the two, that will not mess up your shares. You see on the my mouse there on the right side, I've got my public share and my TimeMachine share on the Drobo. And as long as you're not switching back and forth between Wi-Fi, which really messes up those network shares and the caching involved, then you shouldn't have an issue with corruption. I haven't had an issue with corruption in over a month now. So for the next guy who's getting corruption issues, why does your Drobo seemingly have corrupt TimeMachine backups all the time? Maybe it's because you're switching networks, and that's exactly what I found. When these links get messed up, if I were to switch over to Wi-Fi now, it would be basically on Wi-Fi. It's a whole different password, not password. It's a whole different IP address versus a networked connection. So these links, these shares, need to get updated and get mapped to the new IP addresses. And that's when TimeMachine seems to have trouble. When I don't know if it records what IP address you're coming from, but it certainly gets messed up. So you can see I have 1 terabyte available that I've allocated in the Drobo unit to my TimeMachine backup. I don't know if I can. Here is my TimeMachine backup. Let me go to Cancel that. I forget where the tool is to actually set up TimeMachine. Anyways, you can set up how much space you want to allocate to your TimeMachine backup. And in my case, I allocated 1 terabyte, and so there's 785 gigabytes free of the 1 terabyte. So that includes my wife's TimeMachine backups from her MacBook Air, which is at only 120 gigs, I think, and of course my backup, which is it's a fair size, a couple hundred gigs there for sure. So for the next guy who's having TimeMachine corruption issues, try just leaving it connected to the network all the time and only backing up while it's on the network and while it's been on the network for a while, say after a reboot. If you're switching between network and Wi-Fi, it's going to be switching IP addresses and could cause you issues. So just a little update there. As it relates to my 3 terabyte upgrade, I gained quite a bit of space here. I was down to 25% space. I gained another 25, so I'm totally at a total of 54% free space. Nice little upgrade. Seems to work well. Here's a 3 terabyte. It was a new, like I say, on warranty hard drive from Seagate, because the last one gave me errors in Drobo. I don't know if it's because it's a little bit slower than the other drive, so Drobo kicks it out because it thinks it's a little bit slower. We're going to see. But this is a proper Iron Wolf NAS hard drive, so it should be, it should be the perfect hard drive for the Drobo. But Drobo's algorithm, I think, seems to think sometimes that if there's a slower drive there, that it's slower because it's having trouble rewriting sectors or whatever. So I'm hoping this doesn't kick out. I do have another regular standard 7200 RPM drive, desktop drive, and I've actually seen them recommend the 7200 RPM desktop drives. And yes, they won't last as long as Iron Wolf's or NAS drives, but because in this case I've got 5 of them in dual disk redundancy, you don't care. And I mean the longevity of the hard drives for desktops is pretty good these days, anyways. And I'm not a super hard user of the NAS. I'm the only person using it, and it's really only used for TimeMachine probably 95 to 97% of the time. So pretty light user, but so 3 hours of transfer data. We'll see how long this takes, but just a little update there, and a little background on TimeMachine corruption. So I hope that helps the next guy. That was my experience, and you can try it and let me know how it works. And we'll see you guys in the next video.